Hi guys, I hope you had an absolutely amazing holiday break and I had so much fun chatting with you guys on Snapchat if you follow me. I just felt like I got to talk to so many of you over the holidays. I don't know what it was, but we were talking about what you were up to, what makeup goodies you got for Christmas. I was about to say Halloween, and it was just so great. I also hit 20,000 subscribers, so thank you so much for that. It was such a nice way to end the year on a high note, but today we are here to chat about the new Too Faced Sweet Peach collection. So hyped up, and I was just really curious to get this palette. I didn't initially purchase it when it first launched because I was like, that's just not peach enough, but then I totally regretted it after all the hype, so I added it to my Christmas list and it ended up under the tree, which was great, and then I received the rest of the collection for review. So today I'm going to do a first impressions try on video and we will see how it all turns out. I did swatch the palette on Snapchat, but otherwise I haven't touched anything yet, and I'm really curious to see how it's going to work on a little bit of a deeper skin tone like mine, because the colors do seem pretty light for the face products. But let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the palette. I think the packaging is absolutely gorgeous, very sleek and cute. I love the ombre. I'm always into like anything peachy, warm, and orange, so I'm really excited to give this palette a go. So I've gone ahead and put on a white base just to really amp up the shades, and I'm going to put Peaches and Cream all over my lid just to set that base. It's a little bit powdery, not super pigmented, but good for purposes like this. You know I had to reach for puree, so I'm going to go ahead with that same fluffy brush, run that through my crease. When I first initially swatched this palette on Snapchat, I've got to say I was pretty impressed. I was really scared that I just totally bought into the hype, but it is really like, everything seemed quite pigmented. There was no real losers of the bunch. Just gonna go in with Summer Yum on the outer corner. The only thing I wish, as I already mentioned, is that there was more peach in it, because like if you're gonna call it a peach palette, I mean there's 3 peach shades in there, and I'm not one that's scared of color or anything kind of warm and orangey. I'm actually more inclined to use something like that, so I wish there was a little bit more in there. But I'm assuming that they've got to make it approachable for as many people as possible. And maybe they'll do a peach too. I mean, they've got the Too Faced Peanut Butter and Honey coming out. They did several of the chocolate bonbons, so they seem to be pretty good at like listening to people and releasing what people want and request, which I think is cool. This is the shade that excites me the most of the palette. I just think it is so gorgeous. It's Candied Peach, so it's like a matte peachy shade, but there is some shimmer in there, or like a glitter almost, like a micro glitter, because it's not like there's shimmer throughout. Like it's a pretty true matte shade with some of that glitter in there. The glitter doesn't seem to translate a ton on the lid, but I feel like it's the kind of thing that it'll just get messy almost, if you know what I mean. Like the glitter doesn't come out where you put it, it just kind of goes wherever it wants. But the pigmentation is there, which is good. I was afraid for like a matte near pastel shade it might be kind of lacking. Just putting a little bit of Bless Her Heart on the outer corner. This is the green. A little bit powdery, definitely getting some fallout. Doesn't seem to translate as green as I would like it to, but I am putting it on top of this peach shade. So it might be the kind of thing that works better over a white or green base, but it does look cool. Putting Luscious on my inner corner, and this is so reflective. Holy, that is way brighter than I was expecting. Look at that. Back in with a little Peaches and Cream under the brow bone. It's really not a super pigmented shade, but I don't mind. I don't love a super bright brow bone anyways. And then just a little bit more of Puree and Summer Yum blended out. Actually gonna put that on the lower lash line as well. So here is the finished eye look before any liner and lashes. I really like the way it looks, although I'm pretty sure that green shade just totally disappeared. Now that I have liner and my mascara on, I'm going to move on to the face palette. Mine actually arrived in 2 separate pieces, but everything's still intact. I'm near positive this bronzer is not going to work for me because that's like the same color as my skin. But we'll try it anyways, see what happens. I've got the Chocolate Soleil on standby to see what this does. Yeah, that does nothing. It's like, that's a swatch there on my hand, same color as my skin. So I'm just going to go in with a Chocolate Soleil instead. That's my only problem with Too Faced products, is sometimes when they come out with face things, They're always super pastel and they don't come out with like a second one. For blush, I'm actually going to use both the Papadon Peach blush along with the blush that's in here. And I swatched them just to compare, and the blush that is in the palette is actually slightly more peachy than Papadon Peach. This one just has slight more like pink iridescence to it, but I'll use both to show you on each cheek because I don't think there's going to be a huge difference. So this side I'm going to be using the face palette, which actually this shows up nicer than I thought. It looked really, really light. And it's the kind of blush that it's like really densely packed in there. It's really popular formula right now. It's kind of this gel powder hybrid. And if you want like more impact, just go in with a denser brush. But I'm actually pretty impressed. I'm getting a lot of color out of this. And then this side we'll do Papadon Peach. Again, more color than I was expecting and a beautiful glow. Wow. I normally am not into like iridescent blushes, but get a bit of glow out of this one, more glow out of this. Wow, it's like a beautiful pinky glow. So for highlight, I'm gonna do the face palette on this side, and then I really actually wanna try that eyeshadow on the other side. I'm curious. I've been liking using eyeshadows as highlighters lately. Okay, that's actually quite pretty. I wasn't expecting it to be that good, honestly. I wasn't expecting to like this face palette. I wonder if I can use the bronzer as like a light highlighter maybe. Doesn't do much for me. And then on this side I'm using the Luscious eyeshadow. Ooh, damn. Yeah, that's pretty. I think they both give gorgeous glows. It just depends what you're looking for, or if you only have the cheek, or if you only have the eye palette, then you can always reach for that as a highlight. And lastly, for lips, I'm going to be using their Creamy Peach Oil Lip Gloss, which sounds so good, especially in the winter time when your lips are really dry and like after all the liquid lipsticks and stuff, it just feels so good to put something hydrating on. This one is in the shade Pure Peach. Actually made in Canada, I realized the other day. I might have to pick up the shade Papadon Peach as well. Papadon Peach, probably Peach. So the lip oil feels incredibly comfortable, doesn't feel oily at all, definitely feels very creamy and moisturizing. It's not sticky, but it definitely has that amount of thickness that feels like it's gonna last on your lips for a while. This isn't the kind of shade that I would reach for every day. Definitely I would like something more like the Papadon Peach one that has a little bit more brown and is a little bit deeper and nudie, but this is something I can see myself reaching for to put over lipsticks to make them more comfortable, and I do like this color a lot. But I'm gonna zoom you back out now and we're gonna chat about the collection in its entirety, the prices, and what I think is worth picking up. Getting started with the eyeshadow palette, this retails for $59, which is about the average price for an eyeshadow palette nowadays. I do, however, feel like it is very consistent throughout. There's no real duds in the bunch, and if you like neutral shades and you're looking for something with a little bit of color in there, something that is quite versatile, I think that this is a great option. Summer Yum and Puree are those gorgeous warm browns that look so good in the crease. You can use them all over the lid. Then you've also got a nice gold in there, a deep shade for really deepening up a nice dark, cool brown. And then you've also got those light highlight shades, and then of course some interesting shades like the peaches, the purple, and the green. The green is the only one that's a little bit dicey for me. I think that that would work much better on its own, and I maybe should have put a white base under it and then put that directly on top instead of putting it over the peach shade, because that just kind of like disappeared. But overall, I think that if you're in the market for a palette, or if you've just been eyeing it and you're like, is it really worth the hype? I think it is a gorgeous palette. As for the highlighting palette, I was kind of like, oh, maybe it is a highlighter palette and I was using that bronzer wrong, but it says it's illuminating, blushing, and bronzing. So I feel like if you have a lighter skin tone, you may be able to get away with using that as a bronzer, but I feel like you'll have to be quite light. For me, basically didn't do anything on my skin, and it didn't really work as a highlighter either, so I'm gonna need to play around with it a little bit more. If you have this palette, let me know how you like to use that shade. It could also be good as like maybe an all over the lid shade or something like that, but for me personally, $59 is not worth it for me. Although I love the blush, I love the highlight, there is a shade in here that I can't use, making it, you know, kind of a bit of a waste to have that one shade that's just gonna sit there, or I'm gonna have to work really hard to use it, which generally in that kind of situation I don't end up using it. If you have paler skin, however, I think that this is really gorgeous. The shades are creamy, they're blendable, there's no chunks of glitter in there, and I also think that it's quite natural and can be built up if you'd like it to. A lot of products sometimes can have have a ton of pigment, be super powdery, you put it on your face and you're just like, oh, trying to blend it out and trying to make it work into your skin. This is something that I feel like can look quite natural and is easy to work with for beginners, or if you're just looking for something that doesn't have like a ton of oomph to it but still looks very natural on the skin and very glowy and beautiful. Onto the Papa Don't Peach blush. This actually really surprised me. I was expecting this to be quite light on my skin, and I don't normally reach for blushes that have a lot of luminosity to them because I like to add that on my own. That being said, this is really gorgeous. I absolutely love the glow that it gave on its own, which is, you know, takes a step out of your routine. If you're in a rush, this blush doubles as a highlight without being too much on your cheeks. It definitely has a little bit more of a pinky glow to it over a peachy glow. I would love to see some shade extensions in here to get like a really nice warm glow. But that being said, I think it's going to be quite versatile on a variety of skin tones, which is surprising to me because I was expecting this to be a little bit of a dud for my skin tone anyways. I'm about an NC42 in MAC if you were curious. The blush, however, is quite expensive, $38 Canadian. You are getting, how much product in here? 9 grams of product in comparison to a MAC blush that has about 6 grams of product, but is about $10 cheaper. So if this is something that you were hoping to get, I think that it is gorgeous and you've got the, you know, space in your budget for it. I do think it is really nice, and again, it has that nice peachy smell. I can't tell if like my face smells like peach or if it's just because I have all the products open in front of me, but it doesn't feel like anything too heavy. However, if you are sensitive to scents, you're probably not going to be down with any of this. But overall, I have to say that I am quite surprisingly impressed with this blush. Lastly, the Creamy Lip Oil Lip Gloss. What is this called? Creamy Peach Lip Oil Gloss. I think that this is beautiful, very comfortable on the lips, especially in these really dry months when there's just no moisture in the air and you really don't feel like putting something dry on your lips, but you want a little bit of color, you want to kind of make yourself look more put together. I think these will be a great option. There is a pretty wide variety of shades. There's nudes, more pinks, and then of course more peaches in there as well, and it feels very comfortable. It is pretty strongly scented though, so you really can kind of taste it on your lips. I've had it on for about 20 minutes now and the scent is definitely still there, but I do love the thickness of it. I always prefer a bit of a thicker gloss because I feel like it just lasts longer on my lips and it feels just so comfortable and so moisturizing. So those are all of my thoughts on the Too Faced Sweet Peach collection. I think it is really well done. I was a little bit nervous about this launch because it is so hyped up and they seem to have put such a big spend behind it, that huge party. They've got like a 5-minute YouTube ad. Every influencer is talking about it, so it's kind of like, is it actually any good? And that was why I kind of held back on the palette initially, but then with all the hype, I just eventually gave in. I always do. So I was really hoping that it would turn out well, and I absolutely think that it is well done, doesn't feel rushed. There's no super duds in the collection. The only thing for me is I wish there was a bigger shade range on the blush and face palette, but that being said, that obviously means that I like it because I would like a shade that matches me. So I think it is really nicely done. If I had to say one thing out of the collection to get, probably the eyeshadow palette. And that's just because it's so versatile and that eyeshadow can double as a highlight. Let me know if you have picked up this collection down below, and I will have a blog post with swatches linked below as well if you'd like to see it a little more up close and personal. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat at SamanthaJaneYT, and I'll see you guys next time.